somebody asked, so would you mind sharing your journey with addiction? Do you mind talking about it? Or if you don't want to talk
Oh,
about
yeah,
it, I understand that too.
that's fine. Yeah. So I got married at 19 years old.
Hmm.
Um, and I had no idea what the signs of a porn addiction looked like because we didn't move in together till after I got married.
Right.
And even though I had known him for six or so years, I thought I was marrying my best friend. Um,
Right.
when you're not living with that person, it can be hid really easily.
Yeah.
Um,
Right.
so it didn't, once we moved in together, it came out really quickly, of course, because you can't really hide it. Um, and then from there on, it was basically just a fight. You just constantly want to fix them. You constantly want things to change. I quickly got pregnant with my oldest, who's now 8,
Right.
Clara. Then you want them to change even more because now you have a
Right.
baby in the picture.
Right.
Um, I didn't realize until I left him just how destructive it is, I guess. I think you get more, my therapist put it in a way where like your fight or flight is triggered so intensely. It does do so much damage where you are literally just kind of in survival mode. You kind of just get to the point where it's like, what can I do today, right now,
Right.
in my marriage, and
Right.
like to survive?
Right.
Um, so I had done, by the time I had left him, I had done everything. I had shown him all the theology of the body things.
Yeah.
We listened to Jason Everett.
Yeah.
I was trying to like
Right.
change something up here in him.
Right.
Um, but at that point, I had just, from talking to some of his family who would joke about certain really awful things. I remember an aunt laughing about how her and his grandfather would trade off DVDs of porn. Like, when I realized how deep it went into the family who raised him, because he was not raised by his parents. When I realized how deep back it went and that he was probably using it to help with trauma from childhood,
Right.
you realize you can't do anything. I wasn't going to be able to do anything. And then the older they get, the more destructive it gets. And alcoholism came into the picture as another vice. So I was like basically pushed out with my kids. I had to get out. It
Yeah.
just kind of got to the point where it was like really dangerous to stay. So we
Right.
left. And it took a good couple years of being really angry with the church because when I was like debating leaving him, I had gone to the church. I had talked to priests. I told them what was happening. I think I was looking for someone to come in and help. I honestly think I was hoping that there was going to be some people from church, that maybe some
Right.
ladies or something, like, let me come help with the kids. Let me come
Yes.
help clean your house. Because
Right.
I couldn't do anything. I've also had chronic migraines since I was born. So I
Right.
was juggling migraines on top of an absentee husband who sometimes would come home, sometimes wasn't coming home.
Right.
I don't know where he was.
Right.
Then Kateri came into the picture, and I had a newborn with Clara, who's 3. And then I think I was just like hoping that somebody would reach in to help. And the priest just didn't know what to tell me. And when I was trying to leave, I
Right.
was told, I can't leave. I took vows
Right.
in sickness and in health.
Right.
So once I was told that by a priest, I kind of felt like I can't turn to the church anymore. They're going to like basically shun me if I leave him.
Right.
And then that's a whole other feeling, because when you're raised Catholic and you're raised to come to the church and you're raised that you have a father in heaven and a mother in heaven who want the best for you,
Yeah.
and then you're told you can't leave, like, what do you do?
Right.
So I stayed probably for a good year after that, trying to still fight, when I should have left way sooner.
I think it's so when when you feel that like you can't leave, they're also you need a community of support, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
you need a
Yeah.
community to
Yeah.
help you through it and to help him, by the way. Like
Yeah.
he also needs like good
Mm-hmm.
friends, you know?
Yeah.
And like
Yeah. And
we
there was none of that.
yeah. So it's instead of like embracing and how can we help you, it becomes
Mm-hmm.
more of this like a judgment, right?
Yeah,
Like, well,
it
you
does.
have this, so you
Yeah.
know, and that like that we need to. We used to be
Mm-hmm.
more of a community. Like it
Yeah.
used to be
Yeah.
more the rituals. You know, like
Yeah.
Friday night was the fish fry and whatever. Now
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how much like truth was coming out like during those, but you
I
all need the
became
support.
I became more hidden in the home and just kept
Right.
to myself because
Right.
I started telling a couple girlfriends,
Mm-hmm.
and they weren't, a lot of the people I was around weren't even Catholic because we were military family, and you kind of do form a tight bond with a lot of the military people, but a lot of them just weren't Catholic.
Right.
And the way society has been taught and raised is it's normal.
Mm-hmm.
So I started turning to some of my girlfriends at the time and being like, this is happening in my marriage. This is devastating me. And they'd be like, my husband watches it too. What's the big deal? And it's literally tearing my entire family into pieces. It's breaking my heart on a daily basis.
Right.
And they're just going along like, okay, it's as normal as him brushing his teeth every morning. And especially when I started hearing people talking about, or exorcists talking about what it does to your home and your family and what it brings into your house
Right.
for you, like, that's what's terrifying. And some of the stuff I saw happening in our home that I look back at now, it's almost like I'm glad I was kind of oblivious to it at the time, because I don't think I would have been able to sleep. I actually would think I would have taken my kids out of the home and slept somewhere else because of like things that were happening. But it is like really scary to admit that to people, like that this is happening, because they either tell you that you need to stick with him and stay, or they tell you it's normal, and then you feel like there's something wrong with you for even being this dramatic about it.
Right.
People didn't like him. I started noticing more and more that like we weren't having people over as much. At first, it was like we were having barbecues all the time. Every weekend was a party, a big gathering, and then more and more that wasn't happening. And after a few years, it's not happening at all. And I had friends, but we weren't ever doing anything as couples because their husbands couldn't stand my husband. Because when the guys would go off and do their guy thing out in the garage or on the front porch, and the girls were inside with all the kids playing, and we're talking and having a good time, the stuff he was saying, the way he talked, they couldn't stand it. And so then I'm humiliated,
Right. And you're also taking on that as well.
Right.
Yeah.
And so then,
yeah.
So it becomes completely isolating. And I think that if somebody were to see this happening to somebody inside their parish, or even not in their parish, a neighbor or something, to reach out and help regardless of how their husband is or something, to know how lonely that woman is, especially if there's children involved.
I cannot imagine like the isolation.
It causes actual brain damage. Like to know now the effects of it, because I'm still in therapy. Like I got diagnosed with PTSD from it.
Right.
So it causes like actual brain damage. So you actually can get PTSD from being with someone with an addiction.
Yes.
And
well, it's also it's traumatic, and it's nonstop. Caring and giving constantly. You never get a break.
Yeah.
But I do think like this is an epidemic. Like I've been reading people's comments, and people also said it's like more addicting than heroin. And I do think it totally rewires.
Yep.
Right, the brain and the body, right? Like
it
the
does.
whole body.
It does. It does. Actually, so let me see. I have it. I got it out. So there's this book that if you guys don't know who Matt Fradd is,
Yes.
Matt Fradd is like my favorite person to go to on this subject. You can look him up to find any of his stuff, but he wrote this book called The Porn Myth, and it actually has nothing to do with Catholicism or religion, even though he is Catholic, but he fights the battle on why you should quit porn, or if you know someone who's addicted to porn, why, like, to help you give them all the reasons why they should quit porn without using the "it will send you to hell" argument. Like, because we've heard that. They've heard that it doesn't work. Like, an addict's not going to hear, it's like it with a heroin addict, this will kill you. That doesn't that doesn't make them put the needle down. And it's full of facts. The entire second half of the book is literally all the scientific evidence to back up it, like how it affects your brain, how childhood comes into play, everything. And there's MRI studies on it. It's brilliant. It's brilliantly done.
So when does it start? Like, I think it really starts like right with like, you know, I've got a 9-year-old boy sitting here. The technology, right? Like really regulating that, because I think once they see it, like it's such an addiction. You know?
Average age, I last heard the statistics were saying the average age that kids are being exposed to is between 9 and 11, and that's depending on the parents and the circumstances and like your technology.
Screens,
yeah, but I've also heard that it's now more like 8, 7, and even he was saying that like when you should start talking to your kids about it is like 7 years old. And there's ways to talk to it. And then there's this book called Equipped, and it's a Catholic parent's guide to talking to your kids about it in a sexualized culture. Right. And Covenant Eyes put this one out. So Covenant Eyes, I don't know if you know what that is. That is something you can get on your devices that will block like any sites, but it also you can put down an accountability partner. So if it's it will send you an email like anything your kids are trying to access. So say you have an older son, for example, and they're Googling things that maybe are borderline questionable. Right. It will send you an email of what they're searching. But if you also have a spouse who's like dealing with a pornography addiction, right, and you're their accountability partner, or they should actually have like another guy friend that can be their accountability partner. It shouldn't be on their wife. They'll send their accountability partner an email for everything that they search and stuff. So it's an accountability software that you can like download. But it's like Catholic made and stuff. Yeah. So
another thing is like, I guess I only know my line of work, but like if you're doing that at work, you're like immediately fired, and like there's all this like stuff and whatnot. So I think eventually that's what happens, right? When they have the addiction, then they start losing the. I've got 4 kids in here right now, so it's crazy. But do you mind like letting me know what those resources are, and then I can?
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, and then I'll tag you too, because I really want others that are going through it to be able to connect with you, so you guys can support each other, you know?
Yeah.
And help one another. I can't imagine the isolation.
Yeah,
you know?
It is. It's extremely isolating, and it takes a really long time to like, because especially when you're married and you're in it for so many years, it's almost like you come out into the real world and you're like, what's this place? You know, where am I? It's so strange. Yeah.
You're so brave, Bethany. I'm so appreciative.
It's all through the rosary and the Divine Mercy, like, and doing those. And I did have my marriage consecrated to the Blessed Mother. And I remember at the time, like, being so angry. Like, where are you? Where were you? Like, this is falling to pieces. where are you? You know?
Right, right.
Um,
Would he ever pray a rosary with you?
no.
Oh, he would.
We went to mass together, but he never prayed the rosary with me. Now, the night before I left, it was really bad.
Right.
He had been out doing who knows what and
Yeah.
came back kind of in a rage. I don't even think he was aware what was happening.
Right.
But my mom had woken up at the exact same time, not knowing why, and she was like states away. She just like woke up abruptly in the middle of the night. It was like 3 a.m. Like thinking like I have to start praying the rosary like right now. Something's going on. And I was up, of course, but my kids were asleep. And all this was happening around my kids' bedrooms, like lots of noise, and they slept through the entire thing. And they have no memory. Like they could have woken up and seen him like that at any point.
Right.
And my mom had woken up though and just started praying the rosary. And she didn't know why. She didn't know what happened until I called her the next morning. And I was like, I gotta get out right now. I gotta leave.
Yeah.
And I was out within 6 hours, I think. So, you know, she's, yeah. I was so angry at Mama Mary and Jesus for a very long time. Like,
Well, yeah.
it's just ridiculous.
Yeah, yeah.